Good afternoon. Yes, thank you. So good afternoon, and I'm very happy to be here, and especially this year that is the 80th anniversary of Hugo. And as you probably know, Hugo has made a book, and that gathered together the biography and all the history of many years of research. And I'm very proud and honored to be part of this book with a chapter that I will try to summarize in this presentation. However, the presentation today is also combined with another work of our PhD candidate, Deborah Jacob, which I will present in the second part. And yes, so I'll start with the translational application of 3D quantitative muscle color computed tomography. Okay. Questo non va.
Forse bisogna fare così. Prova adesso. Eccolo, sì.
Quindi
o così o con...
Vabbè, faccio così, dai. Okay, so the work that will be presented in this session is extracted from the activity of the Institute of Biomedical Neural Engineering. So I will give you few information about some of the projects, but then the session will continue to describe more in details some of our activities. And the first activity, and the one also related to my professional story here in Padua and with Hugo, starts with imaging. So I've been a PhD student in Vienna with the group of Winfried Meyer, and our contribution, or the idea, was to label the growth of muscles with morphological analysis, and not only morphological, but also densiometric. If I would have to give a short explanation of what is used from medical image to extract quantities, then I would skip all the physics that is behind the acquisition. I would say briefly that every medical image is a matrix, and in this matrix there is a pixel, and inside the pixel there is an intensity. This intensity depends from the level of the sensors that is used to gather the image. And this level are the gray values. So you can have up of several thousand gray values, depending on how sensitive is the acquisition. Additional, then you have a pixel size, and then a slice thickness. All this information allow you to extract quantities that are behind the image that our radiologist is looking at and using for the clinical evaluation. And these are an example of how you can take three different regions of interest and label with colors. The idea of making this as a functional evaluation of treatments came in the years 2006, 2009, thanks the vision of Hugo Carraro. That to the work that I was doing in Vienna, he had the idea, and how about the label connective muscle and fat with different colors, so that you can evaluate in a very sensible way what is happening after the electrical simulation. So then we did, and I'm very glad that still today, after so many years, it's remembered also by other colleagues and scientists. And then later, Hugo and myself, we started to look if we could use this approach in general for it was for rare disease, right? To evaluate how rare disease can be treated with electrical simulation, with other rehabilitation techniques, and to apply these techniques to see what are the quantities involved. And here we have tibialis anterioris from a healthy individual, from a pathological individual with unilateral degeneration, and from an elderly person. I think that was not you yet. That's that you, Ugo, you are there on the left side. So this was a very nice proof of concept that gives the level of discrimination that from a computer tomography image you can get. Okay, so we did insist on this type of evaluation and going into behind the image. Okay, if all this information are from the image, what is behind the image that we can use? What numbers we can use? So we back projected our approach into a numerical profiles. And these numerical profiles, we call it NTRA, nonlinear trimodal regression analysis, that our friend and collaborator, Kyle Edmonds, gave the name many years ago. And so based on this new identity, we could label muscles in a very unique and specific way. But what and where to prove this theory? We prove it on a large database of data that was available in Iceland by the Heart Association. Several thousand patients during their aging, in 10 years of follow-up, they were measured with 10,000 different clinical evaluations. Among those evaluations, there is also a cross-sectional analysis of a thigh. So from there, we could extract this NTRA for each of them. And this, for example, are the profiles of the 3 data sets that we saw in the previous slides. So you see that if this is the concept is that if I take a cross-section from a thigh, then I have fat, connective, and muscle. These 3 quantities, they are different for each individual. For instance, here is the healthy. We have a large peak in the muscle, a lower peak in the fat, and some connective in between. The opposite is in people aging, where the fat is a lot greater and the muscle decrease. But here, it's something very interesting, because this is the pathological muscle. So in the pathological muscle, there is an expression that is very unique. It's not aging muscle, it's not atrophic muscle, it's something different. So this characterization was of inspiration to analyze this for all the people that are aging. However, to make the story short, with Ugo and with our partners in Iceland, we have analyzed this very extensively, and actually after Carlo will tell you more about this work and where are we going now, and looking at our NTRA distribution against the risk of cardiological risk, and also relating our profile to the lifestyle. The imaging concept is something that we have continued to develop also towards other applications. So we are kind of pioneers in 3D printing for surgical planning. So no, not kind, we are the pioneers in surgical planning. We have 20 years of experience that has been recently, actually from tomorrow, you can buy the book. And with this experience, we have been kind of changing the surgical planning in Iceland. So still today it's possible to, and actually since 10 years, it's possible to order 3D models through the web portal of the hospital. And this is completely automatized. And today we have a very nice infrastructure that can make this very convenient for the surgeon and very accessible. So this is a very important directions that the imaging took in our research line. But where are we going now? It's still the next level, because we are recently starting to look at segmentation and 3D modeling using virtual reality. So this slide was prepared by Camilla Baldaccini, that is working with us in Reykjavik. So here you can see similar work that we do normally with our software, but in VR. So this is a very promising application that we are trying to develop for the next level surgical planning. So I hope I will tell you more about the use of these techniques in the next Padua Muscle Day. And now I'd like to switch topic and talk about motion sickness and postural control response. So this idea came a few years ago because my friend and collaborator, Anders Petersen, that has been also in Padua some years ago. I don't know if Hugo remember him. And he is a postural control and vestibular scientist. And he is also a doctor of the Coast Guards. So he has been for many years rescuing seamen in the North Atlantic and experienced the seamen seasickness that is not only conditioning the work on the boat, but also their life after when they are on shore. And then the idea extended to postural control. Can the postural control be a index of pathologies? So from this speculation, we started to investigate postural control. And to get to the current setup, this is our very new and innovative setup. So it's a moving platform, and this moving platform is combined with a virtual reality experience. So the person that is measured look at a boat in movements, and the waves intensity and frequency is synchronized with the platform. While he's doing this, we measure electrical activity of the brain, of the muscles, of the heart, and additional to that, we do also measure the sway, so the posturography. Every measurement generates more than 1,000 different features, so a lot of information. And this information can be then analyzed to understand if something, what is your postural control. Similarly to the muscle profile, this is the postural control response profile. And with this setup, we have been investigating motion sickness, concussion, and early stage Parkinson. We first find out that in the postural control, a combination of all the different signals from heart, brain, and muscles, they contribute in the postural control. And this is nothing that should surprise us. What is important is that behind there is a quantity. There is a quantity that you can measure and you can create an index. So the first step is to associate postural control to motion sickness, to balance, and to give numbers to that. And then later is to see if your way during postural control response can tell you about your physical condition. Concussion is episodes that can condition a person for months and years after the accident. So the traumas that you have are not measured many times they don't have a physiological measurements, but they do influence your lifestyle afterwards. So we did measure 50 professional sport practitioners that did report concussion, and compared with the same cohort, with this similar cohort of people without concussion. And our setup was able to distinguish the two groups a lot better than the SCAT-5, which is the self-reported questionnaire that normally is used to evaluate concussion. So quality, quantity, both together to improve evaluation, to give more analytical evaluation of physical conditions. Very interesting is this work. It's really preliminary, and we just submitted to Frontiers of Neuroscience. We measured 10 individuals that just got the diagnosis from neurologists that they have Parkinson. The same day they came to us, and they did these measurements, and we was able to demonstrate the difference between those early stage Parkinson with their similar cohort of the same age without Parkinson. And what are the analytic that distinguish the two cohorts? One is the sway. Okay, so imagine this is the surface of sway. Surface of sway. You would imagine that the early stage Parkinson would sway more. It's the other way around. It's the other way around. The early stage Parkinson, they are swaying a lot less. So there is a protective response that makes them rejecting the adaptation. Then, and this is a kind of a measurement of the movement. But here is the reorganization of the cortical activity of the brain. And here we have very remarkable differences on the theta and alpha band. And this is very important because it's in line to many other findings in neuroscience that shows the activity in those bands in patient with advanced state of Parkinson. So it's very very important marker. But I think this is really cool. We just published this on Journal of Neural Engineering, and here you can see the brain configuration, the dynamic brain configuration during our experiment, over 150 individuals. So we made this graphics and which shows how the information in the brain remodel during the experiment over 150 individuals, healthy individuals. And you can see that while the phase of the experiment are changing, then the brain reacts in a different way. And this is very important because into the evaluation of degenerative conditions, today we don't have a real analytic that can tell you if you have or not a certain neurophysiological disease. So we hope that we can use the indexes that are the results of this analysis to give evaluations that are a lot more sophisticated and real. And you see, when the platform stops, then the people continue to sway, and also the monitor, you see. So it's and it's a very important and very eloquent phase of the experiment. But concluding, I wish to thank you for your attention, and the amazing group that is making all this research will follow presentations that will go more into depth of many of these topics. Thank you very much.